Tickle Whimsicott with Crunch Landorus Incarnate was able to win the Korean National Championship. We're going to be trying out the team and seeing how well it can perform. This is the team that ended up winning the Korea National Championship in VGC 2025 Regulation I. Let's break it down. First up, we have the Assault Vest Miraidon with the Hadron engine ability that is able to summon the electric terrain and give the Miraidon a special attack boost in response with the Fairy Terra type with Draco Meteor, Dazzling Gleam, Electric Drift, and Volt Switch. Pretty standard Terra Fairy Miraidon set. It is just a really strong option to power up the Dazzling Gleam while being a good defensive typing against opposing Miraidon, being able to be immune to opposing Draco Meteors, which is solid. And normally we see the choice specs on the Miraidon with this set. However, Assault Vest allows the Miraidon to be extremely bulky and survive multiple hits from even like a choice specs Miraidon. You can be able to survive multiple Astral Barrages from Calyx, Shadow Rider, even the Life Orb sets. It just really complements this team well, especially with the defensive tools that you have on this team especially. The EV spread, it's still a pretty fast Miraidon. It's running 116 speed, and that allows the Miraidon with this modest nature to be able to outspeed the timid max speed Landorus Incarnate. Still has a good amount of special attack with 196 investment. That gives an extra stat point in its special attack, so it's still doing a good amount of damage, and then a good amount of HP with 124 HP with 68 defense and 4 special defense. It's an interesting to see the 124 HP investment because it is a number that is very close to being divisible by 16, one off, but it does reduce like a bit of weirder situations where like Will-O-Wisp burn as well as like sandstorm damage, I suppose, but not taking advantage of the Rillaboom grassy terrain recovery. However, it's still able to tank attacks extremely well and just do a bunch of damage. Next Pokemon we have is the Covercloak Whimsicott, the Covercloak that prevents any fake out flinches, the secondary effects like Icy Wind, Speed Drops, and more, with the Pranks ability that gives it a +1 priority to all of its status moves that are non-attacking moves, and the Fire Terra type that's a great defensive typing for fire type moves from Chi-Yu, from Koraidon, and fairy type moves like Fluttermane and Dazzling Gleam from opposing Miraidon, and more like the Ice Rider Glacial Lance and the Chien Pao Ice attacks with Tailwind, Moonblast, Light Screen, and Tickle. Now the first three are pretty common. Tailwind does give you a speed advantage for a few turns. Moonblast, that is able to do a decent chunk, being a good fair type coverage move. Light Screen, which of course is able to reduce the damage that you take from opponent's special attacks for 5 turns. And then Tickle we don't commonly see. We usually see Encore instead, but Tickle has quite a few unique applications that can be utilized, especially on a more bulkier team. What Tickle allows you to do, it targets one mon, and it is able to lower the attack and defense stages by 1 on your opponent. So that is actually really cool because it has a few different ways that it can be utilized. For instance, against Zamazenta, it's actually very helpful because not only is the Tickle lowering the attack on the Zamazenta, which means your Whimsicott's able to live the heavy slam afterward, but it also weakens the power of their body press. And since Zamazenta is a Pokemon that can only boost up its defense by 1 stage from its ability, that is going to be a remainder. So your Calyx Ice Rider, your Miraidon don't have to worry about the body presses as much, and even Incineroar can live a body press, which is fantastic. Then there's also, like, of course, just being able to lower the attack. It can be used offensively, but it can be used offensively as well. For instance, Tickle, you do have your own Urshifu and your own Calyx Ice Rider. You can go for Tickle into Surging Strikes or Tickle into Glacial Lance, even Tickle into Knockoff, although a bit more rare. But in general, you have quite a few different ways to be able to utilize this Tickle, both offensively and defensively, and it can be a really nice combination for how this Whimsicott's able to support the team. It's a really bulky Whimsicott with a bold nature to be able to survive like the physical hits in general, especially with that Tickle in mind. And then just running a bit of special defense, you do have that Light Screen available, a little bit of speed, but not really too much speed because really it's just the prankster moves in general. A lot of this Whimsicott doesn't have to really rely on like speed ties. Against Torn, you're generally fine because Torn usage is pretty low right now, and you do have Calyx Ice Rider and Miraidon, which just makes it hard to bring Torn in general. So you don't have to worry about like the pranks or taunts out there. Maybe you have to deal with the opposing Whimsicott, but since you don't have Encore, it's not like you really need to go for any speed ties there. Next Pokemon we have is the Rocky Helmet Incineroar with the Intimidate ability with the Grass Terra type, a great defensive typing when you don't have the safety goggles because it makes you immune to Spore and Powder moves, but also the fact that it is a great resist to the water type moves like the Kyra Water Spout and the Urshifu Rapid Strike Surging Strikes, as well as the fact that it is also being able to resist the ground type moves like Earth Power and Precipice Blades with Fake Out, Parting Shots, Knockoff, and Helping Hand. Pretty standard Incineroar otherwise. The Rocky Helmet, of course, gets that little bit of chip that you might need against opponents that are physical attackers. That Grass Terra type is just solid in general. Can't really go wrong with it. And the knockoff is able to get rid of items. Fake Out, of course, for being able to flinch your opponent to set up for something. Parting Shot to maneuver. And Helping Hand is just able to boost the damage that you have, because you have Urshifu Rapid Strike. You have Landorus Incarnate that's able to get KOs with the Helping Hand even against neutral opponents. You have the Helping Hand Glacial Lance offensive combo, and you also have a way to power up the Miraidon to make up for the lack of the choice specs that you have on the Miraidon. Across the board, it's just a very solid Incineroar, really especially defensive, being able to switch into the Calyx Shadow Rider and more with 244 HP, 156 special defense, with a careful nature that just gives it an extra stat point in its special defense that I can get access to. Still having a bit of physical defense to be able to switch into Glacial Lance pretty well with the 84 in that defense, and 20 in speed just to be able to speed creep opposing Incineroar potentially with the 4 attack. It is across the board just able to be a nice support mon that is able to power up thanks to the Helping Hand, boosting up for the lack of damage output that you do have otherwise. Next Pokemon we have is the Icicle Play Calyx Ice Rider, which boosts its ice type attacks by 1.2x with the ability as one, with Terra Water defensive type, which is just really good against really strong fire type attacks in general, really strong water moves in general, with the Glacial Lance as a spread ice type move. I think we all know. Trick Room, of course. Speed Control. Protect is to keep itself around, and then Leech Seed, a more defensive Calyx Ice Rider. Running the Icicle Play instead of a leftovers because it allows the Calyx Ice Rider to do some pretty good damage while investing more into bulk, so you don't miss those KOs with the Glacial Lance, because sometimes you can if you don't invest enough. So having that Icicle Play does make up for it, while you do have the Leech Seed that is able to still give you some pretty good recovery, especially against the wide guard users. Across the board, the Calyx Ice is an effective sweeper. You have a lot of HP with max HP, 68 attack with an adamant nature, 172 special defense. This just allows Calyx Ice Rider to be able to survive all the really strong special hit attacks like the Electro Drift from the Choice Specs Miraidon on opposing teams, and it can really just allow this Calyx Ice Rider to dominate and take those attacks, especially under the light screen, and the rest going into speed and defense. Not running min speed because of course you do have the Tailwind mode on the Whimsicott, and the extra speed on this Calyx Ice Rider does allow you to be able to outspeed, for instance, a modest Kyogre, neutral base 90s, which is important, but also speed creep opposing Calyx Ice Rider. Next Pokemon we have is the Mystic Water Urshifu, powering up its water type moves with the Unseen Fist, allowing its contact moves in order to go through Protect with the Water Terra type, just to power up its water type moves with Surging Strikes, Aqua Jet, Protect, and Taunt. It's pretty standard on the Urshifu Mystic Water because you're utilizing some bulk on the Urshifu. You have light screen support as well as the Tickle that you can utilize on the Whimsicott, as well as Intimidate from Incineroar, so you don't need Focus Sash nearly as much as the Urshifu is able to tank attacks. And that Mystic Water can really just allow the Urshifu to power up with the Surging Strikes, allowing to get KOs, for instance, on bulky Calyx Shatters and more. Overall, the Surging Strikes, Aqua Jet, of course, strong water type moves. You're running at least 2 water moves on Mystic Water Urshifu. Aqua Jet for a priority. Surging Strikes, of course, the dominant move on Urshifu. Protect to keep itself around. And then Taunt is able to shut down quite a few strategies from your opponent. For instance, Sporamungus, Trick Room, or Leech Seed on opposing Calyx Ice Riders. And it's just a really good defensive tool against like the Calm Mind, Galapagos. And there's so many applications you can do. You can Taunt an Incineroar on the opposing side, so you don't have to worry about Will-O-Wisp or Parting Shot. There's so much you can do with Taunt Urshifu. Across the board, the EV spread, you're running 236 Adamant Nature. The reason you do invest this amount is because it allows you to get the KO onto the Focus Sash Gen Pals without having to deal with your Terra type if they're just for defense investment. The rest is just into a bit of bulk because you have 84 HP and 84 special defense. I don't know if this has anything specific that it does in or out of light screen, but it just allows the Urshifu to be able to tank special attacks a bit better. 12 physical defense, and then 92 speed. This allows you to outspeed max speed modest Raging Bolt and a point above that, so it is able to speed creep those. Final Pokemon on this team is the Life Orb Landorus Incarnate with the Poison Terra type with Sheer Force for the ability. The Life Orb Sheer Force combo, of course, super strong with the Sheer Force combination, giving it more power in the effect of ignoring the secondary effects that your moves can go for, but also making sure that the Landorus doesn't take life or recoil, which is nice. Earth Power and Sludge Bomb are able to do a ton of damage because Earth Power, of course, the ground coverage option. Sludge Bomb is able to hit the fairy type Pokemon and the grass Pokemon for attack to keep itself around. And then Crunch, which is a move we just don't see on Landorus, and I didn't even know it got Crunch in the generation until I saw this team, because it's a move that's able to threaten the Calyx, Shadowers, and Lunalas, which is absolutely incredible, because the fact that you are able to threaten Lunalas is pretty big, as it's just a Pokemon that can stick around. It's really annoying for Calyx Ice Rider and the Solvest Miraidon to really break through, but the fact that you have both Crunch on the Landorus means you can threaten it with the, if it doesn't Terra, and then Sludge Bomb does threaten it with the Terra Poison if they decide to Terra into Fairy, which is the most common Terra type on Lunala, and if they're Water type, you just have a Miraidon. So a lot of ways that the Landorus is just able to threaten those Pokemon conventionally, really strong, and it is just a decently bulky Landorus because it can take advantage of the Light Screen and Tickle and Intimidate as well, with 172 HP investment, or in defense and special defense, 196 with a modest nature that just allows it for an extra stat point in its special attack, and then the remainder just in speed. It allows the Landorus just to be able to outspeed quite a bit, especially under the Tailwind. I don't think there's a specific number that is really relevant in this format. I know that this would outspeed at least Maz Golden Goals and Maz Glamoras, but otherwise I don't really know too much to say other than the speed tier, other than might speed creep a few Pokemon. However, yeah, it's just a very fast Landorus, can still take attacks with the good amount of HP investment and do a ton of damage as a wall breaker, because Life Orb, Sheer Force, the Earth Power, Sludge Bomb, Crunch is just really good type coverage in this format. Able to threaten the Zamazentas, able to threaten the Kakshara, Lunalas. There's so many Pokemon that this Landorus is able to hit. So how to use the team? Overall, I don't think the team has like a guaranteed win condition, because there's not really like a certain sweeper that really just stands out. Across the board, it's just a good general team with great tools, because you have defensive options with the Whimsicott, with the Tickle and the Light Screen. You have Tailwind support that you can go offensive immediately under the Tailwind with like Landorus Incarnate, Miraidon, or Calyx Ice Rider, Urshifu. Or you could go for a more defensive game because you have the Tickle Light Screen combo. You could pair it up with the Miraidon, and it's just able to take attacks extremely well with the Assault Vest and the Light Screen available. You have the Incineroar with the Intimidate, able to switch in, provide Fake Out support, Helping Hand to power up the damage of the Miraidon, which it does lack because it doesn't run that choice specs anymore. You can pair it up with the Calyx Ice Rider, the Glacial Lance, go straight for the Icicle Plate partners with the Glacial Lance and just dish out a ton of damage. Otherwise, you could also go for a more defensive gameplay. Go for Leech Seed. The team's overall generally bulky. Urshifu can just be disruptive with Taunt to shut down strategies, or just can go straight on the offense with a Terra Water Surging Strikes, especially next to like Tickle Whimsicott or the Helping Hand Incineroar. And then you have Landorus Incarnate, a great wall breaker that's able to hit multiple Pokemon for super effective coverage. You can partner it with the Tricker mode, or you could go for the Tailwind mode, or you could just partner it with like Incineroar or Urshifu, because Urshifu can hit through any protects, while Incineroar is just, of course, gives the Landorus an extra turn with Fake Out. Across the board, I wouldn't say that there is an exact win condition. It's just playing strong with the team and utilizing the multiple tools that it has to find a way to position it well. If you'd like to check out the details of the team, they'll be linked in the description down below. And unfortunately, the creator does not have social media, but I will link the Team Korea VGC Twitter account, which is the account that they use to share this team, down below in the description. And in the comments down below, let me know if you have seen the recent talk show / VGC podcast that I have been doing recently called The Breakfast Club. It is a current podcast that I have been doing for the start of VGC Regulation I, and I've been talking about like all the regional trends and why they might happen, and some predictions about upcoming stuff and what might evolve as the meta goes through. So if you do sound like that would be interesting to you, make sure you go check it out, as there will be a playlist in the description down below. And yes, I'm promoting it on this video. I think it's the first time I promoted it outside of like community tabs and the actual videos itself. So if you do want to check it out, let me know, because that series needs as much feedback as possible in order for me to evaluate if it is worth continuing. But otherwise, let's get started and play some games. Calyx, Shadow Rider, Zamazenta, Chien-Pao, Raging Bolt, the Ting-Lu, and the Moongus. Okay, looks pretty standard. I am okay with this. What do I want to go with my leads? Urshifu is really tempting, but are they gonna bring the Ting-Lu? I just don't know if they bring the Ting-Lu. Landorus is really tempting for the Zamazenta and the Raging Bolt. I don't need it though. I wouldn't say I need Lando. Although Crunch and the Shadow Rider could be really tempting. Like, they are really weak to Cali Ice. They do have the Zamazenta, so I gotta keep that in mind. I think the play is to bring in Incineroar, Miraidon, plus the Whimsicott. I just don't know what my last mon is. I think we do Whimsicott, Miraidon. I think Incineroar in the back always. Just do I go backwise? I think I'm gonna do Lando. The reason I'm not gonna bring Cali Ice, even though it's tempting, is I just don't expect them to bring all like their ice weaknesses. Like, I think it's really unlikely. I like having the Lando because of threatening the Zamazenta more, and also like I probably go Tailwind mode more than like a Tricker mode anyway. And I don't want to Terra my Cali Ice, because if I Terra my Cali Ice, I think it's weird. We're gonna see the combo of Ting-Lu and the Zamazenta. Okay. This is a very unique lead here. I am okay with this though. All right, my Miraidon's faster than the Zama. Good to note. Good to note. I mean, I think my best play is just to tickle the Zamazenta and just go out into the Landorus Incarnate. They can't really do much damage to my Landorus Incarnate with any of the attacks that they have. I tickle the Zamazenta and I should be able to live Heavy Slam, I'm pretty sure, or Behemoth Bash into the Whimsicott. And because of the tickle, the Zamazenta's body press is also doing less damage on the switch. I like this. I would like to build up damage in a Ting-Lu though, because I didn't bring the best answers in a Ting-Lu, but I think overall across the board, like, this should be pretty acceptable. So we bring out our Landorus. Zamazenta gonna protect. I guess they were fearing the potential Volt Switch there, and maybe want to scout for the move as I do attempt to go for Tickle. I mean, the thing is, by protecting, I could have Encore locked them the next turn. Bulldoze. Okay, that's a fun one here. Bulldoze. Sure. Do you have a switch in for Tickle Earth Power? I don't think you do. I don't see a problem with going for a Tickle and a Earth Power. If they go POW, they lose their Focus Sash, which is massive for them. So, like, sure, there's a Ting-Lu on the field that's reducing my damage output, but they're not really doing too much at the moment. I mean, Ruination is going to be really annoying. Like, this could be Heavy Slam and Ruination with a Terra, but I think that's still okay. I'll still do pretty decent damage to the Zamazenta with this Earth Power right here. As we're going to see the Terra on their side. Going to be Zamazenta. It's no way going to be the Ting-Lu. Terra Dragon. Okay, that's fine. That is fine. They're both weak to Dazzling Gleam now, so I'll take it. Why did they Wide Guard here? Are they fearing Sandsear Storm? Did they go for Bulldoze? I don't know. I'm just tickling the Zamazenta. Oh, they covered for Encore, I suppose. I guess they want to cover for Encore while having something available. I mean, I get good damage to Zama. Snarl? Okay. What did I dodge with? I dodged with Lando, which is kind of massive, actually. Yeah, that's pretty massive, because now, since they Wide Guarded, if they go for Protect, it's like the chance of a double Protect. I mean, that works out really well for me, because now I can double up this Zamazenta with Moonblast plus Earth Power. Sure. Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I don't know what their plan is here. Again, this is kind of a problem. They don't have any switch into Earth Power plus the Moonblast here. Everything goes down on their team. I just don't know if they can KO the Whimsicott. I'm kind of curious if they can KO the Whimsicott, but right now something is sacking. Yeah, they go for the Protect, attempting the double, or maybe they just forgot about the Wide Guard. I think they went for Wide Guard to cover for Encore, but yeah, this is kind of problem with this lead is they're not really accomplishing much right here. Like, and because Whimsicott was able to lower the damage up with the Zamazenta, it just made it useless. Like, the Zamazenta was just useless this game. And they wasted their Terra on it, which is beautiful because now Incineroar can switch in freely. They go for Stone Edge. That's a critical hit into my Whimsicott. That did nothing. They go Shadow Rider here, which makes sense. I just go for a Tailwind and a Crunch. Because I always want to put that Shadow Rider low into any point of damage that I can get from my other Pokemon. I'm trying to figure out what their last Pokemon is. Is it POW? I mean, I feel like if it was POW, you should have went into it, right? I'm kind of curious. They can Protect. That's fine. I get a free Tailwind, and then I can double up with Moonblast Crunch next turn because they don't have Terra. If they go for Astral, I'll take an Astral, and then Crunch is threatening them. If they're anything but Sash, they should be Sash on this team, but if it's Life Orb, Shadow Rider, and Sash POW, this is what ends up working out immensely well for me. I do get the Crunch off. It is Focus Sash, but that's fine. Like, that damage is very good, especially because the Vessel of Ruin reducing my Earth Power damage. It's actually funny because the Vessel of Ruin is weakening this power of the Astral Barrage coming out. Didn't even KO no Whims because of it. Okay. Sure. I'm gonna go out into Incineroar first. Get this Intimidate off into the Ting-Lu. And then I'm just gonna go for a knockoff into the Ting-Lu, and I'm gonna go for Earth Power into the Shadow Rider. They don't have any switches to Earth Power at this point in the game, so no reason not to Earth Power. I do want to knock off the Ting-Lu because being able to knock off the Ting-Lu does help out in my Miraidon sweeping with the Dazzling Gleam later on. They protect Shadow Rider still out of turn, which is fine. As the Earth Power gonna fail into the Protect. Comes knockoff. Goodbye, your Assault Vest. And they go for Stone Edge, but I mean, they crit again. They're 2 for 2 on crits. That's fine. My best play is just a Parting Shot, the Shadow Rider, and also Earth Power to Shadow. Actually, it's the Parting Shot. I think it's still Parting Shot the Ting-Lu and Earth Power, the Alex, because if they go for the double protect here, I think it's better for me to Parting Shot the Ting-Lu. I want a Parting Shot to cover for the Alex Shadow Rider switching out. Yeah. Yeah, they switch out here. I mean, whatever's coming is taking a bunch of damage. Oh, it's Raging Bolt back. Okay, yeah, they are in a lot of trouble. As this is an Earth Power, huge damage. Everything's in range of Gleam at this point, and Assault Vest is going to come in so clutch on my Miraidon because I'm just going to be able to tank the attacks with ease, and then fire off like Helping Hand Dazzling or Helping Hand Dazzling Gleams. So we go into Miraidon. Like, everything's in range at this point. This is Snarl? I don't know if Snarl will KO actually. No, they went for Stone Edge, and the Stone Edge misses even. Oh, it targeted Miraidon. Okay, that works out. I want to say Dazzle just KOs the Raging Bolt. And we just... I'm trying to think of like how I guarantee secure this. I think the best place to go instant actually and just Earth Power the Raging Bolt. The reason I'm going to do this is because if they go for Snarl into my Landorus, that's fine. Because if they go for the Snarl into Landorus, I don't even know if it KOs. Because I just don't think it will do that much damage to Lando. If they Thunderclap, I mean, they were going to Thunderclap my Miraidon to cover for Terra Fairy, and I didn't want Thunderclap critting. And I didn't want them to Thunderclap Stomping Tantrum and then get a lot of damage if they do crit with one of those moves, because it would set up a nice endgame for my... Ooh, we go for Ruination. Hmm. Does that change anything? Not really. Shadow Rider comes in. Actually, it very much could, I suppose. I mean, my best play here is just to click knockoff into the Shadow Rider and go into Miraidon here. Because if they decide, hey, I'm gonna do something with the Shadow Rider like Astral Barrage, I get to knock off, and then I think the game is secure. If they decide, hey, I'm going to protect the Shadow Rider, Ruination, and Incineroar, then hope my Shadow Rider can knock out the Incineroar of Astral Barrage next turn on a crit, and then get the +2 boost, I think it's actually kind of troublesome. So I think my best play here is to get my Assaultvest Miraidon in and knock off, because they're not going to Ruination a Lando slot. Like the worst case is like they go for Snarl realistically into my Lando. But yeah, I either KO the Cali this turn or I KO it next turn, because I'm going to go for Dazzling Gleam. And because Miraidon's at full with the Assault Vest, we are definitely taking the attack with ease. Yeah, because like if they protect us is fine. They're probably just going to go for either Stone Edge crit or Ruination into Incineroar again. Yeah, exactly. Now I'm set up, because if I had Lando in, right, it would just be like, okay, Lando is going down to Astral and I give them opportunities to boost. By making this play, now I can just threaten a Helping Hand into the Miraidon, go for Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam, and I'm going to do a ton of damage. I think they need a double protect into a Ruination into an Astral Barrage crit. And even then, I don't even know if that KOs, because crits don't ignore the Vessel of Ruin. So it might not KO because I have Assault Vest and the Vessel of Ruin is helping me out here. So we go for Helping Hand, boost up the damage on the Miraidon. Yeah, Shadow Rider went for a double protect, it fails. And we get a Dazzling Gleam off. So we do secure the game this way. I'm like pretty sure we even secured the game, even if like they protect, even if they get the double protect and they crit, or they Ruination here and then they crit. I think I would have even been okay with that, just because of Assault Vest and Vessel of Ruin just preventing the Miraidon from doing much damage. Now Helping Hand, Dazzling Gleam, and we secure the win. Okay. Very weird Zamazenta start. Wasn't exactly anticipating that, but it worked out super well. I was able to get pretty good turns, I think, into my opponent. Getting rid of the Zamazenta early. Gained the damage on Shadow Rider. The fact I brought Raging Bolt meant Earth Power was pretty free as well. Like, Earth Power did so much damage, and that was that -1 special attack? I think it was -1 special attack and the Vessel of Ruin. And look at how much Earth Power did to Raging Bolt. That's absurd damage. Landorus Incarnate is so strong. Zamazenta, Lunala, Incineroar, Rillaboom, Xianpao, and Raging Bolt. It looks like a Calyx Shadow Rider team, but it just has Lunala instead. All right. I really do like the fact that Tickle Whimsicott here is actually kind of massive. Tickle Whimsicott is massive here. I want to bring Miraidon. Okay. I got to think about this, because I would love... There's a lot of Pokemon I do like. Landorus is really good. Do I bring Cali Ice? Leech Seed, of course, is really solid, but I don't need it. I think the combo I would want to bring here is probably like Whimsicott, Incineroar, Miraidon, and Landorus Incarnate. I think that's the combo I want to go for. Yeah, I'm gonna lead this, and then my only problem with what I'm bringing is I am like triple Ice Weak, so I gotta really watch out for the POW. I don't really want to bring Ursh against this team because they have Raging Bolt, Rillaboom, and POW. I'm kind of curious on what they actually bring against me, because I'm not exactly 100% sure. The restricteds are really good into Cali Ice, so they might not need Incineroar in this match. I feel like Rillaboom comes, I feel like Xianpao comes. And then I think it's Lunala Zamazenta, but they might bring Raging Bolt. So we'll see. Landorus Incarnate's really good if I set it up properly, though. But I need to get rid of POW. They do lead Xianpao and Zamazenta, which makes a lot of sense, as we do lead our Miraidon and our Whimsicott. We do have the Hadron engine activate. So we are faster than the Miraidon. Good to confirm. Our best option is to try and get rid of the POW as quickly as possible. I think my best play is just to go for a Volt Switch into the POW and swap in the Whimsicott into Incineroar, because this covers an Ice move. This covers a Body Press into the Miraidon, because I'll switch out back into Whimsicott, and I like that. Okay. Ooh, they switch out POW. Is this Rillaboom on their side? That makes sense. Okay, perfect. This actually works out in my favor too, because I don't mind if I have Terra Fairy Miraidon for the rest of the game. It's not too bad for me. So I'm kind of curious on what the last one is. It's probably Lunala, but bring out the Incineroar. Unless they went crazy and went for a Body Press into the Incineroar slot, I think I'm in a completely okay spot. I do get Intimidate off into Zamazenta, which also matters in the future for the Whimsicott potentially. I might be able to live a Heavy Slam after a Body Press from the Grassy Terrain recovery, but we'll see. We would go for the Terra Fairy immediately, and I am trying to get that Volt Switch off into the Rillaboom. If they protect Zama, this is best case, but I don't think they ever should, because I do have Encore threat. I get a Volt Switch off into Rilla. I could go hard Landers, but I just don't see a point of ever going Landers in this position. I think I always go Whimsicott. They go for the Heavy Slam into the Incineroar, which is beautiful. Okay, that is probably the best turn I could have asked for. Awesome. Now I'm going to go for a Tickle into the Zamazenta to lower the Body Press damage. It also lowers the damage output that they can do with Heavy Slam. And I'm going to go out into my Landorus Incarnate. Or I can go out into Miraidon too, because they both work. I actually like Miraidon more. I like Miraidon more, actually, because it puts on more offensive pressure into the Zama, and fake out Body Press just won't do too much damage anyway. But I like the idea of threatening the Rillaboom with like an attack, and I don't really like putting Landorus into potential range of like Sludge Bomb, Grassy Glide later in the game. But I like bringing out the Miraidon. We're gonna see a Terra come out, which is surprising. Who are you gonna Terra? The Zamazenta. Ghost Terra. Oh, to avoid fake out. Okay. I mean, that works out for me perfectly. I do get the Tickle off into the Zamazenta, so that is -1 Zamazenta attack and defense. So it's -2 attack, or neutral defense. Heavy Slam going to come out, which doesn't do that much damage, and U-turn also probably coming out in Whims. Yeah. Okay. This works out pretty well for me. Probably POW coming back in. Oh, Lunala came in. Okay. I do just want damage across the board. Do I want a light screen, or do I want to just go out into Incineroar? I have done a really good job of negating the amount of damage I can do. I think light screen's probably the best option here. And just get some dazzle damage. Yeah. As there's Zamazenta protects, I mean, the light screen's pretty massive here for my Whimsicott. It might be able to live the Moongeist Beam ? But that would be really nice if we do. But we get some good damage into the Lunala, which is kind of massive. So Dazzling Gleam going to come out into the Lunala, break that Shadow Shield, which is nice. Recall Mind? Oh, they just Moongeist Beam. Okay. Well, I mean, it could be leftovers, so that's something I have to keep in mind. We do lose Whimsicott here, but I mean, right now Incineroar is looking pretty comfortable, actually. Or Landorus, both work. I really like the idea of going Landorus. I think I would go Landorus here, because I think Dazzling Gleam into Earth Power is such a hard thing for them to switch into. And I would like to have Incineroar around so I can switch into POW easier. I do have Crunch into Lunala as well, which I am debating about going for, actually. I think I will go for a Crunch into Lunala, and I'm going to go for a... I just Electro Drift, or do I Dazzling Gleam? I probably just want a Dazzling Gleam, realistically. Because it covers Lunala switching on to Rillaboom as well. Yeah, I'm going to go for Dazzle Crunch. I have that option. I can do more damage to the Lunala that way. And we'll see. It's not leftovers Lunala, which is interesting because I thought this would be Calm Mind, but we did see no. Oh wait, no. No, yeah. I mean, I thought it'd be leftovers because of Rillaboom, so Calm Mind, but yeah. Okay, we do see the swap out here into Rillaboom. It should be. I didn't Sludge Bomb that slot for a reason. Okay, Rillaboom coming in. Does Lunala protect? Does it have protect? No, it does not. Perfect. Okay, so I do get the Dazzling Gleam off, which is fantastic, and I get a Crunch off into Lunala, and I should get the KO on Lunala with a Crunch. Life Up Sheer Force, beautiful. Goodbye, Lunala. That is massive. Getting that KO onto Lunala is just so huge. Because now I don't have to worry about Moongeist Beam switching in, and all the Pokemon are now vulnerable to me going into Incineroar. So they go on to Zamazenta. Can I just go for attacks into Zamazenta? Because Zamazenta is the only Pokemon that's threatening my Incineroar in the end. I think I just go for... Well, they could protect Woodhammer. Are they going to try to pin my Incineroar switch, or are they going to try to protect? This is where it gets tricky. I could also Sludge Bomb Dazzling Gleam the Rillaboom, and that's also a decent mid-ground. You know what? I'm actually going to do that. Okay, they just fake out, which is fair, into Landorus. Because I do get a Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam off, and I'll do some pretty decent damage to both. Yeah, like, I mean, the chip damage is racking up. Oh, why are you Iron Defense on this team? Why are you Iron Defense on this team? That is bad. Yeah, protect. I might have to KO. I might have to go for the KO on the Zamazenta. Oh, but if they protect here, it's... Okay, this is bad. This is very bad. I will still target down the Zamazenta. They go for Grassy Glide. Oh, this might be Grassy Glide Body Press into Landorus. I don't know if I'll survive. Well, yeah, I don't know if I'll live this. It took the Electro Drift pretty well. Body Press comes out into Landorus. Landorus clutching it out here as we get the Earth Power into Zamazenta. That's massive because that is the power of this bulky Landorus. We're able to survive the +2 Body Press. KO to Zamazenta, and now it's Chien Pao plus Rillaboom endgame, and I'm feeling pretty good about my odds here. I'm feeling pretty good about my odds here as Pao comes in. Kind of curious on where... I mean, the game's not over, but I think I'm in a good spot. Incineroar can come in for this slot, and I can just go for a... I think I just Volt Switch out the Pao. Yeah. I'm gonna be forfeit because they know that full health instant plus full health Mariah is really tough. Okay, Whimsicott and Crunch Landorus putting in a ton of work there. The fact that I was just able to get the knockout to Lunala, the fact that I was just able to lower that damage output on the Whimsicott, so massive because that Tickle like allowed Whimsicott to take the hit really well, and then it also allowed it just allowed me to get some really strong momentum by forcing the Zamazenta out, which meant that I was able to take care of the other Pokemon. I wish I got like an Earth Power into the Zamazenta earlier, because Earth Power into the Zamazenta earlier, or maybe just Electro Drift instead of the Dazzling Gleam, because I think they faked out my they faked out my Lando, so I would have probably preferred going for Electro Drift there, but I mean it still ended up working out really massively, so thank goodness. All right, we have the Miraidon, Glamora, Dundozo, Tatsugiri. There is an Iron Treads and Calyx Ice Rider. Great, we got like Toxic Stall stuff. Not terrible, but it's not ideal. Landorus plus Whimsicott's a pretty tempting lead, but of course if they lead Cali Ice, that's really bad. I don't know if they would lead Cali Ice against my team. I think they're probably more inclined to bring the Dundozo mode with the Glim and the Miraidon, but we'll see. I think I'm just gonna lead Whimsicott plus Landorus though. I think it's not terrible for what it can offer. And then in the back, I want to bring my own Miraidon for sure. And last Pokemon's tough. I don't know if Cali Ice doesn't do much. Actually, no, Cali Ice is necessary, right? Because if I don't have Cali Ice, how am I breaking through Terra Grass on Dozo? I guess Draco Meteor through Unaware is actually kind of massive. I could probably break it through it that way. But you know what? Yeah, I'll bring Cali Ice. A little bit scared of their own Cali Ice, but overall, I think it should be acceptable. This is going to be a interesting couple of turns for the start, because it really just depends on what they lead. If they lead Glamora plus the Miraidon, I think I just go for attacks into Glamora straight up with the Earth Power plus Tailwind, but we'll find out. Yeah, they lead Glamora and Miraidon, so I'm not too surprised here, as we do lead our Landorus and our Whimsicott. Okay. I'm kind of curious if I can just go for Protect and Moonblast to break a Sash on Glamora. Unfortunately, we don't have any confirmation. Unfortunately, I am slow on Landorus, slower than Glim, which is a little bit unfortunate here. I don't really care about Landorus getting poisoned. I only care about the things in the back. I think my best play is just to get a light screen up and Earth Power the Glamora turn 1. They might Terra the Miraidon. I think it should be Sash Glim on this team, if I'm not mistaken. Or like, I would assume it's Sash Glim, because they don't really have any way of like making sure that Glim sticks around on the field. I'm gonna go for light screen. So hopefully Landorus lives one attack that they throw off, but we'll see. It's gonna be the Terra. They Terra the Glim. Terra Dart. Oh, I could have Moonblasted. I think they were expecting a taunt there. I do get a light screen up, so I should live any attack from the Miraidon, I assume. They do fire off a Draco Meteor. I think I live 1. Yeah, I do. Especially since it's probably not likely specs on this team. Earth Power going to come out into Glim. Does a good amount of damage. Not enough. They Sludge Bomb immediately into Whimsicott. Unfortunately, it's not able to survive. Okay. Do I think this is awful? They did force their Terra, so I mean, I just go out into my Cali Ice. I think this is fine. It's not ideal, but it's fine because I can go Cali Ice, and it depends on their back. Because if their back is Dondozo, I win by Leech Seed stalling, I think. I'm gonna go for Glacial. And I think I'm just going to Earth Power attempt a Glim. Or do I Protect? Because the only way that they get the Toxic Spikes up is by them switching out to the Glim. By them staying in and Draco Meteoring, but I get a double knockdown response, right? So I think it's always better just to Earth Power here and just Glacial. I think at least. They retreat the Miraidon, so this might be Dondozo Geary, which is actually perfect for me. Yeah, it is. Okay. That's awesome. Okay. All right, perfect. So now I can Leech Seed their Dondozo, and I get an Earth Power off, so I'm already getting some good damage. Then I think we can clean up the end game with Trick Room Cali Ice, because I don't think they'll be able to break through the Cali Ice quickly enough. So I'm feeling pretty good about this spot. Like, yeah, it's not exactly the greatest start, but I mean, it's going to work out for us because we're going to get the Earth Power off into Dondozo for some pretty solid damage, because it is Life Orb Sheer Force Lando. Yeah, like that's some pretty good damage. The Glacial Lance will add up too. I think Landorus will live any hit from the Dondozo that isn't a water move, so I should be able to go for another Earth Power into a Leech Seed, and then we could start setting up our Trick Room endgame. So we'll go for a Leech Seed into Dondozo, and we'll go for Earth Power into Dondozo. This might be order up into Lando. This might be order up into Cali Ice. Either one works. Because they went for their Terra with Glamora, which might be a Assault Vest with how well it took the... Well, I don't know if it's a Assault Vest, but it's definitely slower than my Lando, so it's definitely not Focus Sash. Unless it's Modest Glim? Moz Glim might speed tie my Lando? I don't know. They do body press immediately my Cali Ice. It does no damage. They definitely expected to protect from Lando. I am able to get an Earth Power off into Dondozo, which is fantastic. And we do get a Leech Seed as well. So now, because we were able to chip away at this Dondozo, we can go get that Leech Seed recovery. And yeah, like, they're in a ton of trouble because I can just go for a Trick Room and a Protect this upcoming turn. They were faster than my Lando, right? Yeah, they were. Yeah. I forgot how low my Lando was. I don't think I actually lived the order up, which is funny. But yeah, I just go for Trick Room Protect. I felt like the Protect was a bit obvious from the Lando anyway, the previous turn. They probably go for order up now, I'd imagine. Yep. Beautiful. Okay. Excellent. And we get the Trick Room up with Cali Ice. And now we can just spam Glacial plus Earth Power. And if this Tatsugiri is decently fast, like if it's max speed, if it's Timid max speed, for sure it loses. If it's Moss max speed, I think it might underspeed my Lando, but I mean, I still think Glacial Lance will sweep them. Yeah, we go for Glacial Lance and we go for Earth Power. They don't even protect the stall out, so I should be getting the KO on Lando, or getting the KO on the Nozo here. Yeah. Okay, I was like, did I misremember my speed? I'm pretty sure that the Lando was slower than Dondozo, and it is. Okay, perfect. Light Screen wears off, but probably don't need it. Electric Terrain wears off, which means it's going to get reset, but I think my endgame Miraidon's still pretty good. I have no reason to Terra at this point. Glamora going to come in. Okay. Don't see a reason not to just Glacial and Earth Power the Glim, I guess. Like, I'm trying to think of, do they have any ways to pick up a knockout here? If they are Meteor Beam Glim, I guess. If they're Meteor Beam Glim, sure. No Helping Hand involved. We do get a Glacial off. Yeah, we just KO Glim, which is not like too surprising to me. And the Cali Ice, and then the Tatsugiri's Focus Sash. Especially the fact that I was never Melt Ice on the Cali Ice. I was like certain I was KOing a Glim, even if it had bulk, like if it was bold. So Glimora going to go down. And Earth Power should get the KO into Tatsugiri, assuming it is not max speed. Assuming it's max speed Tatsu. Yeah, it is probably fast because it's Focus Sash. Tatsugiri goes down. Beautiful. Because you run fast Tatsu, because if you run Icy Wind on the Tatsu, yeah, it is able to outspeed base 135s. We're going to see Miraidon come in, and now we just win that game because we click Earth Power and Glacial, and there is no response. So, nice. I did technically get the turn wrong, but I mean, I still got pretty good momentum. The fact that they just gave me the Dondozo early and the fact that they Terra'd Glim early was just so convenient for me. Because of the fact they Terra'd Glim, it just means that I don't have to worry about Dozo as much because they can't Terra Grass. They're vulnerable to Leech Seed. Order up just takes so many turns for Donzo also to set up, and then yeah, I was just able to Leech Seed and get pretty powerful Earth Powers. I still had a Miraidon back. Oh, pretty good. All right, we have Calyx, Ice Rider, Kyogre, Incineroar, Rillaboom, Overquill, and Grimmsnarl. So I'm kind of curious if that's going to be Intimidate Overquill or if it's going to be Swift Swim Overquill. Both of them are pretty viable, I'd say, on this team. What do I want to go against this? I like my Whimsicott with Light Screen's nice, but there is the Cali Ice, which is a big problem. I don't really like Landorus too much. It doesn't do that great in this matchup. I definitely bring the Urshifu. Urshifu is definitely being brought here. I think I go with Urshifu because I do have taunt access. I kind of want to bleed Urshifu. The question is, who am I leading it with? Miraidon could be a thing. I think Miraidon Urshifu makes a lot of sense. Having Incineroar in the back, and then I guess it's just Cali Ice. Yeah, I think it's just Cali Ice, which I think is the safest way to play, because the problem with bringing Landorus, it doesn't really do much against this team. I mean, it does have really good coverage, right? It can hit things super effectively. I'm not a huge fan of how it takes on the restricteds though, and I feel like taking on the restricteds are probably the best things I need to handle. Urshifu, Incineroar, Cali Ice is great switch-ins for the Kali Ice on their side, and then the Miraidon, of course, good against the Kyogre, and Kali Ice good against Terra Grass. But we're gonna see Overqwil plus the Rillaboom lead immediately. Okay. As I lead Miraidon plus Urshifu. I have quite a few things that I could go for. An Incineroar switch. I could just go for Surging Strikes immediately. It is revealed to be Intimidate on the Overqwil. All right. I don't know who they fake out. They could fake out either slots. They could go for Protect Woodhammer. Incineroar switch is pretty obvious. I feel like that this is probably some Toxic Spike setup. I think I'm going to go for Taunt in the Overqwil, and I think I'm just going to go for a Volt Switch immediately into the Overqwil so I can reset later. The worst case is Overqwil protects, but they do have momentum in order to just go for a fake out immediately with the Rilla. So I'm hoping that I can just shut down whatever Overqwil wants. I'm assuming this is probably fake out of Miraidon, but no fake out of Miraidon. I do get the Volt Switch off, get a critical hit. Doesn't matter since I didn't go for the Surging Strikes here. But now I think this is a perfect opportunity to bring in at least my Incineroar and intimidate down the Rillaboom. Because if this is a Woodhammer coming out into Urshifu's way, I might as well just make sure that I think it should be able to survive after this Intimidate, but we'll see. As we do taunt the Overqwil. And what does the... Okay, they just go for U-turn, which is very fair. Okay, this actually works out pretty well in my favor. They take a bit of damage from that Rocky Helmet, and now I'm in a pretty good spot, I'd say, especially because I didn't take any Woodhammer damage. So pretty solid there. Let's see what they decide to bring out. Probably going to be Kyogre, I'd imagine. Oh, it's their own Incineroar, so they didn't bring one of the restricteds, which is actually really nice. Okay. That is very nice. As yeah, they did attempt to go for Toxic Spike. So I'm thinking this is probably Kali Ice back, which is cool. They do heal a lot because it is Black Sludge on the Overqwil. So it's like one of the defensive Overqwil sets. Okay. Probably will lead to Kali Ice. I'm just going to Surging Strike the Incineroar. And I think I'm just going to go for a Parting Shot into the Overqwil because I could see Fake Out into Urshifu plus a switch into Rillaboom. I think that would make a lot of sense here. I think I'm just going to Parting Shot and go for a Surging Strikes into the Incineroar because Overqwil can't protect. I'm always guaranteed to get a Parting Shot off into this slot unless they switch into like a clear Amulet Calyx Ice Rider, which I don't think is going to be very likely the case here. So just put on pressure against their Incineroar. If we force them to Terra, that means they're weak to my Kali Ice. They actually stay in with both Pokemon, which is interesting. Okay, so they do fake out my Urshifu, as we're going to see the Overqwil go for the Barbarage. Okay, it does have 50% chance to poison. Doesn't get the poison, which is fortunate, as we do get the Parting Shot off here. All right, awesome. And now we can go, I think we go Kali Ice, and then we pin a Glacial Lance plus a Surging Strikes combo. Because if I go Miraidon, they just get to pivot out into the Rillaboom, and I don't really like that. So I think I'm just bringing out my Kali Ice, and since I have the Icicle Plate, and because the Intimidate's already active on the Incineroar, which means they can't switch in Incineroar this turn to negate like how much damage I'll do with the Glacial Lance, I think it's the best play possible. I am going to go for Surging Strikes into the Incineroar, and I'm just going to go for Glacial Lance. They have no switching. If they go into Kali Ice, they're taking a ton of damage. They might switch out their Overqwil, which is completely fine. Not really too worried about the Overqwil at this point in the game because right now I just put on a lot of pressure against it, and I'm not really too concerned about the poisons at the moment. I'm more concerned about getting the damage, and I do have Taunt Urshifu, which shuts down Leech Seed Kali Ice as well as this Overqwil right now. So they really are desperately trying to get rid of this Urshifu right here. It might even force a Terra on Incineroar, and if they Terra the Incineroar, that is completely fine. It means they don't have a defensive Terra for my Miraidon later on with their Kali, which is solid. All right, we do see the Overqwil retreat. This is probably Kali Ice. Yep, that makes sense. Does Incineroar go for a defensive Terra? I could have taunted to prevent Parting Shot. Yeah, they do go for defensive Terra. What is your Terra? Are you Grass, Bug, Ghost, Water? Okay, that's actually worst case. But they are weak to Volt Switch in the future, so that's something I'll keep in mind. Okay. Because I will get Surging Strikes damage off. Are you Helmet? Yeah, I take a lot from the Incineroar. That is not ideal. Okay. That is not ideal. My Urshifu just took a ton of damage. But what are you doing with the Incineroar? Are you Wisp? Are you parting shotting here? Are you knockoffing? You go for knockoff. Okay, so you get rid of my Never Melt Ice, which, you know, I didn't need my Asgore Blade in this matchup to get any specific KO, so I think this works out fine. As we do get some decent damage off here. Okay. I don't know if they can KO my Cali Eyes. I don't think they're going to go for a double up here. It is going to be the leftovers Cali Ice, so that's not too surprising. So it should be Leech Seed stuff. So this is more of a stall team. I have a few options. I can go for Taunt. I don't think they're going to Leech Seed though. I think my best play is probably just to protect my Urshifu and just Leech Seed there. I could Taunt the Incineroar, which I am debating about, and just Leech Seeding the Cali Ice, because that means they can't Parting Shot out or Will-O-Wisp or anything. So I think that I like that, because I think Cali Ice goes for Glacial, but we'll see. They did go for Will-O-Wisp, which is nice, and I do get the Leech Seed off into their Cali Ice. Beautiful. And I guess if they Leech Seed mine, we're just trading Leech Seeds basically. They Trick Room. Okay, this actually works out pretty well. This works out pretty well because the Incineroar can't do much on the field. The Cali Ice is pretty much forced to just go for... they could still go for Leech Seed, but I mean, at this point, like, healing with my Cali Ice is still pretty good. Because we get to chip them away, and the Incineroar can only really go for knockoff. I think my best play is just to bring out my own Incineroar for the Urshifu. And probably either just fire off the Glacial or Leech Seed. I like the idea of Leech Seeding the Incineroar. Because even if they knock off Glacial with the Intimidate, they're not going to do too much damage. And I think that's pretty solid for me. I can also get an Incineroar to threaten a Fake Out the next turn, threaten Helping Hands. We chip away the Incineroar on their side. So I kind of like this. The Incineroar's going to retreat. Is this Rila? I almost thought about Glacial Lancing here just for to cover the switch. But it might be Overquill. It is Overquill. Okay. Can I knock out the Overquill before T-Spikes go up? I might be able to. As we do bring out our Incineroar, get the Intimidate off. I mean, I feel like I'm still in a really good spot because I think next turn I could Fake Out the Overquill and switch into Urshifu. They do Leech Seed my Cali Ice, so we're just going to be trading a bit of Leech Seeds right here, but I think this is pretty acceptable. So we do Leech Seed their Overquill. Now I imagine I'm in a pretty good spot. Because they can't tear the Cali Ice, so I don't have to worry about any defensive tears. I can still threaten with knockoff later for my Incineroar. Miraidon is threatening a lot of damage. I still have Terrassalization available. Yeah, I don't think this is that bad. And then Leech Seed trades. We're going to take a while for timer. We're going to take a while for timer. I mean, the game's been going on for quite a while too. But this is all right. It's like, hey, you gave me health, let me give me some of yours. But I am getting Leech Seed health from the Overquill. Okay. I think this turn I just want to Fake Out the Overquill slot and swap out into my Urshifu. As we know, it's Black Sludge on the Overquill, so it can't switch here, or it can't avoid the Fake Out. We're gonna see the Incineroar come back in for their side. Okay, that makes sense. Probably trying to get the T-Spike set up. Unfortunately, I don't think I have a way to avoid that anymore. We will bring out Urshifu and get a Fake Out off, though. At least we're healing a bit with Leech Seed, because every bit of recovery is actually really nice. I'm probably just going to go for Fake Out T-Spike. Trying to figure out if I should just get in my Cali Ice again, so I can threaten... I think I should get in Cali Ice and threaten Glacial. Trying to debate about this turn. I think I do Parting Shots the Incineroar and go for a Surging. Oh, they go straight for the Wisp and miss. Unfortunate there. Unfortunate, but that is the risk of Wisp we do get the parting shot off into Incineroar, so that's actually pretty big. We get in our Cali Ice pretty safely, and once we KO Overquill, the fact that we don't get poison with Cali Ice is actually pretty massive, because they can't really do too much to my Cali Ice other than Incineroar going for the Will-O-Wisp into that slot specifically. But I mean, I don't think this is a pretty good trade, I'd say, for us. Spike is going to go up. Yep. However, once we counter Leech Seed the Cali Ice on their slot, this is actually pretty huge. But yeah, Surging Strike is going to be able to pick up the knock on Overquill. I think with the burn, it would have probably survived, but it would have been in the red. But it means it would have been put in range of Glacial Lance from Cali Ice, so it wouldn't have been awful. However, they would have had still Intimidate switch. They could go back in their Cali Ice, so nothing was set for certain. They're going to bring out their own Cali Ice again. How many times of Trick Room do I have left? Can I just go for Taunt and Leech Seed? Okay, it's last turn of Trick Room, so I don't see a problem with going for a double Protect here. They might go Rillaboom for the Incineroar slot. I don't know. That is a bit risky. I do like the idea of just going for Taunt and Glacial the next turn, though. Or Taunt Leech Seed. I'm debating about both, because Glacial will cover the instant switching out. And if they stay in, I mean, they're not doing too much damage to me. Leech Seed comes out into the Cali, and then they probably went for a Wisp into the Ursh again. No, they target the Cali as well, yeah. I think I always go for Taunt plus Glacial here into the Incin, because it covers a Rillaboom switch. It's more inclined for me to click Leech Seed in this situation just because of the fact that it's 2 Glacial Lance resists, right? But I want to go for the Glacial now to try and cover, because the Taunt I already revealed. I think it's obvious that I don't want my Cali Ice burned. I think they would probably, they either double my Cali Ice slot with Leech Seed plus Wisp, or they go for the switch to Rila, which is exactly what I covered for. So this ends up working out really well. I even get some extra grassy terrain recovery thanks to them coming in. So this actually works out amazingly. Oh, they protected Cali Ice to cover for the Taunt if I went for the Taunt in that slot, but we will go for the Taunt into the Rillaboom, which is fantastic. And we get a Glacial Lance off if they're not decently invested. This is going to do a ton of damage. I don't know if we'll pick up the KO, but it will do a ton of damage. Yeah, it will KO. They also had a little bit of chip earlier from that Rocky Helmet, which was massive for my Incineroar. So we get the boost, and now we can just threaten the Taunt here into anything. And we also have the Leech Seed as well. I think I'm just going to go for Taunt into... I think I Taunt the Cali. I'm going to Taunt the Cali. We're going to Leech Seed the Cali Ice, and we're going to Taunt. Because I don't think I need to go for a... I don't think at all I need to go for a... attack an Incineroar, because I can always finish it off from a Miraidon endgame. I think we just Taunt the Cali, prevent it from being able to go for Leech Seed, and then force it to keep going for Glacials against Pokemon that it really can't do much damage to. I get Incineroar and Miraidon at one point. I click Fake Out Electro Drift, and I think the game is sealed. So, fantastic. Fantastic. Overall, did I get a bit lucky with the Wisp miss? Sure. But I still think I was in a pretty good offensive spot, and I was going to take advantage of like what the game gave to me. So, we were able to, I think, put on a good amount of pressure. I think I made some pretty solid reads for the most part. Especially catching that Rillaboom on the switch there was fantastic. And I was just able to do a ton of damage at that point and just up my lead from there. Miraidon, Grimmsnarl, Incineroar, Urshifu, the Landorus, Incarnate, and Lunala. Alright, so pretty standard bulky team for the most part. I do like... Yvesangelist, Miraidon does pretty well here. Whimsicott also does well because I can get light screen up, and it's pretty good into Miraidon initially. I do like the combo of probably Miraidon plus the Whimsicott. I think that is going to be my lead here. Their own Lando's a little bit annoying. I'm trying to think. I definitely bring my own Lando. I bring Incineroar, which is a good switch in. I definitely don't bring Urshifu because Urshifu doesn't need much. It's probably Cali Ice because Leech Seed's decent into my opponent's team. I can pressure with Trick Room. Glacial Lance is also pretty good. And yeah, I think having a Mon that always just pressures Miraidon is going to always be solid here. So let's see. Because if they're able to position, for instance, the Lunala next to Landorus, is actually pretty tough because they have access to Wide Guard. We're going to see Incineroar plus the Lunala, which is fine as I do lead Miraidon and my Whimsicott. Okay, this is pretty solid for me. I should be able to get a light screen up immediately. We do activate the Electric Seed on the Lunala, which is completely fine. Okay. I will just go for a light screen immediately, and I think I'm just going to go for the Electric Drift straight into Incineroar. I want as much damage into Incineroar as possible, and if they fake out, that's fine, because I do get a light screen up. So this is still a pretty good turn. As they go for a Moongeist Beam. Yep, completely fine. Whimsicott should be able to tank it pretty easily with the light screen. Yep. We do go down to 2, which is a little bit unfortunate, but at this point I think it's still pretty good. I still want as much damage. I think I'm trying to think here. I think I just break the Shao Shield on the Lunala with Moonblast, and I think I just go for an Electric Drift into the Incineroar. They retreat Incineroar. Is this Lando? I almost debated about Draco Meteoring that slot. Would have been great, but okay. They bring out their Lando. I do go for the Electric Drift, which is going to fail here, and I do get a Moonblast off into the Lunala. Okay. As they go for a Moonblast into Miraidon. Okay. It's not too much damage. Sure. I am all right with that. As Leftovers Lunala. Interesting. I think I'm okay with just drawing off another Moonblast. Do they have Protect? I just don't want to Volt Switch into Protect. I think I'm hard swapping the Lando. I think I Moonblast the Lunala slot and I swap in a Lando. Because I am not risking Earth Power, and I'm especially not risking a Scarf Lando. Alright, Lunala retreats, which is fine. Whatever's coming in is taking a Moonblast. Incineroar? No, they're all Miraidon. Okay, this might work out pretty well for me if I get that Moonblast off. They went for a Sludge Bomb into Whimsicott. Okay. Unfortunately, I didn't get any good speed interactions there, but I mean, they don't have the best switches right now. I do like the idea of getting Cali Ice, actually, because Cali Ice under Light Screen is pretty tough for them to handle. Yeah, I like the Cali Ice situation because Glacial Lance is pretty safe to go for. I honestly want to Earth Power to Lando or Earth Power to Miraidon. I think I'm going to Earth Power. I really want to Earth Power to Lando because I think Incineroar might come in for the Lando slot. But it might Protect as well. I think I'm going to Earth Power to Miraidon. If they Terra, that means the Lando goes for the Terra. That's completely fine. They go for a Volt Switch, which is cool. Earth Power and a Glacial gets pretty much every knockout, I'm pretty sure, since they didn't switch to Incin. It should be Specs Volt Switch damage. Lunala, okay. I'm getting a double knockout here, I'm pretty sure. Go for Earth Power. Yeah, that's the thing about powerful Light Screen. That's why I wanted the Light Screen up early for sure. Earth Power does so much damage to Lunala, and then because we're never Melt Ice, we should be getting the KO with Glacial Lance onto both. Excellent. And I'm pretty sure that's a wrap. I mean, they're locked into Draco Meteor with their... I mean, I guess they could lock into Gleam, but if they lock into Gleam, I just Terra Poison my Lando. I get the double boost with the Cali Ice, although it shouldn't matter because Cali Ice's job is pretty much done, and Incineroar going to come in. And Miraidon. Just gotta make sure. Does my light screen wear off? I mean, I think I always don't Protect anyway because I don't need the light screen up anyway. Yeah, it's the last turn of light screen, but it's also the last turn of electric terrain, so no matter what, this is still the best play, just double protecting here. We do see the Terra committed on my opponent. We should know that it is choice specs on the Miraidon based on the damage. We're going to see the Terra Fairy. Yep, that makes sense. And we get a protect off with Lando, and we get a protect off with Cali Ice. This should always be Dazzling Gleam. Curious how much Helping Hand Dazzling Gleam does to Lando, but I mean, I do Terra Poison the next turn anyway. They do fake out the Lando, which is pretty scripted, and then they go for Dazzle because they need to go lock into Dazzle at this point in the game. Yep. And now thanks to Terra Poison, Lando will be in a good spot. So nice. Even though I didn't get to use like the crunch on Lunala, which is what I was trying to set up for, as well as could have maybe had some situations where like I could have set up some pretty strong stuff with Tailwind. I mean, the fact that they gave me the double knockout was incredible. That's why I was surprised Lando stayed in. All right, let's go for a Glacial and a Terra Poison Sludge Bomb. Because if we get rid of the Miraidon, we should win the game. I guess I could also Earth Power the Incineroar here, but if they are Assault Vest, I want the damage into their own Miraidon. I think Terra Poison KOs, if I'm not mistaken. Dazzling Gleam. Yeah, I just take it extremely well. If I don't KO, this could actually get awkward. I think my own Miraidon will have attacks though. I do get the Sludge Bomb off. Yeah, I do KO their Miraidon. Perfect. Like, Terra Poison was the perfect Terra that I want to set up for this Miraidon, so felt it was pretty solid here. And then they're gonna go for knockoff. They go for Parting Shot. Okay. They went for Parting Shot. Okay. I think they were hoping that I was a neutral Terra on the Lando, or that I would just stay in that form, and then they would Parting Shot to... I mean, the thing is, if you knock off, get rid of the life for it, but I guess Parting Shot technically does negate the damage more, but I felt like you needed the damage. Now I have a ride on a Lando that just wins the game because I can Electro Drift plus Earth Power. Yeah, I think it just came down to does that Miraidon live this Terra Poison attack, Sludge Bomb, but with Modest, Lando Eye with Life Orb Sheer Force, I just felt like it was pretty unlikely that they would survive the attack. And then I was just able to clean up from there, which was fantastic. Like, all I had to do was figure out like, okay, are they going to Terra? And they did Terra, and I was just in such a great spot afterward. All right, let's go over to games. In game one, I don't know what they were doing with the Zamazenta, but they threw it away as Landorus Incarnate and then Terra Fairy Miraidon were super hard for my opponent to stop, as it didn't matter if Tinglu was reducing damage, they were doing too much on the field. In game two, Tickle Whimsicott and Crunch Landorus came in clutch as I was able to tickle the Zamazenta, make it not be able to do much, and then the crunch that was able to catch the Lunala and knock it out was incredible. That Iron Defense Zamazenta was a little bit off guard, but Landorus with a clutch survival on the Grassy Glide plus the body press, allowing it to finish off the Terra Ghost Zamazenta with the Earth Power, was super massive. Landorus was definitely the MVP there. In game three, Dondozo with Glimora, but they had to Terra the Glimora early. I was able to get a ton of damage utilizing my Landorus Incarnate's Earth Power, survived the Draco Meteor from the Miraidon, and then forced the Dondozo in without Terra, Calyx with Leech Seed, plus the fact that I went aggressive with my Landorus Incarnate, going for Earth Powers, getting some massive damage. It was just too much for Dondozo to handle, and then Calyx Ice Rider plus Landorus was just able to sweep under the Trick Room. In game four, this was an Overquill team, and they were more on the stall aspects of getting the Toxic Spikes alongside the Leech Seed Calyx Ice Rider. Felt like I played a pretty good game, was able to shut down a lot of what they could do, played a bit aggressive with the Urshifu, it worked out. I did have a very helpful Will-O-Wisp miss, but I was able to just push the advantage and really didn't give them any opportunity to come back in the game. In game five, a nice light screen early led Calyx Ice Rider to survive two strong attacks and get a double knockout in response, where my Terra Poison Landorus was able to beat the Terra Fairy Miraidon and Incineroar in the back. So how was the team? It was strong. We went on an undefeated streak in the higher parts of the Battle Stadium ladder, and yeah, I don't have any complaints. The 5 games that I played, pretty much the only games that I had to play because the team was just incredible. Was able to play a pretty nice solid tools. I mean, you have light screen and tickle great defensive options with Whimsicott to cover both body press stuff, physical attacks, and special attacks in all one set was absolutely nice. The Miraidon didn't really get to do too much, but you know, it's still able to tank attacks with that Assault Vest, able to do a ton of damage. But really, like the Calyx Ice Rider with the Icicle Plate, still able to do a ton of damage with the Glacial Lance, and then the Leech Seed if it needs to play a slower game. And the Landorus Incarnate, the MVP of this team right here and in our run, the Life Orb Crunch variant, which just a really cool option. I didn't even know it really got crunch before this tournament, and the fact that it can just stretch in Shadow Rider is so massive, as well as Lunala. It makes it much easier to deal with the Lunala plus the Miraidon combinations that have been popping up recently, but it was incredibly powerful in today's video. If you'd like to try it out, the rental code is on your screen. Hopefully it's still available by the time the video comes out. And if you'd like to check out the details of the team, they'll be linked in the description down below, because the creator does not have a social media like a Twitter or anything, so make sure you check it out. Otherwise, of course, subscribe to the channel for more VGC content as always.